Right. Among the first things foreign students need in America are a social security number and a driver's license. Question is, how do you get them? We'll check in with our Ebru immigration expert, Remzi Kulen. And we thank you for joining us again today.
Thanks
Always
for having me.
Pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
Let's talk about these documents that students need. You got driver's license, social security.
That's right. The first thing a student would possibly need, a foreign national student would possibly need, is a driver's license, probably in the United States. And obtaining a driver's license is not a complicated procedure for a student, but being new in the country and not knowing all the details of the procedure, they have to watch out for some precautions here. First of all, make sure you apply for it at least 10 days after your entry. That's a requirement because they have to make the entry in their system so that they will know that you arrived in the United States.
So you wait 10 days.
You wait 10 days. And then make sure your status in the service system, which is a system, web-based system used by the government to monitor, track records of the students in the U.S., make sure your status is active in the system.
That's the Student and Exchange Visitor Information System?
Yes, service is that, and it is controlled by the school. There's a designated school official at the school who has access to the system. At the other end of the system, there is the immigration service who makes sure, which makes sure that you are currently enrolled in the system. Anything violating your status must be entered to the system by the school, and immigration will know about it. So obtaining a social security number is a different procedure. A student doesn't get entitled to get a social security number by himself or herself. They have to have work authorization. It can be by one of three methods. You can be authorized to be employed in campus under 20 hours a week. School has to give you authorization for that. There's curricular practical training. In some academic programs, after completion of a certain credit hours, school will allow you to do practical training outside of the school about the programs you learned theoretically. But that needs a school approval as well.
So there are a lot of limitations.
That's right. And there's the third work authorization, which is OPT, optional practical training. That's after the completion of the program for a 12 to 29 month period, and government needs to authorize it. So in other words, if you want to have a social security number as a student, you have to have work authorization. Otherwise, you don't get it.
So there are a lot of things they've got to juggle. What's the first step? A family comes to you or a student comes to you and says, okay, I've got to get acclimated. What do I do first?
I tell them, make sure you get along with your designated school official at the school. That's the person who's going to tell you what to do, because they are the persons who are sitting in front of the system. They have access to the system and they can manage all the records. Some of the problems we face with foreign students is when they transfer from one school to another. Sometimes they don't let their old school know that they're transferring. Sometimes they don't let their new school that they're transferring, and something gets lost in the translation and they are suddenly falling out of status in the service system. That's a huge problem. That means that you're not in status in the United States, and government may come after you. So even some basic, minor omission to change in the service system to let your designated school official know about your changes, etc., that may cause problems. So I tell students to make sure that everything is recorded correctly in the service system, and that their status is active in the service system.
So you go to the counselor first, you tell them all your information.
Right.
And then do you go to DMV to get your license, or you fill all of that out?
That's right. When you go to DMV to get your license, they give you a list of documents that you need to be presenting, and this varies by state. So make sure you know what your state requires if you want to prevent a second trip to the DMV.
So they really need an attorney.
Not really.
To advise them.
Well,
this
not
whole
really.
process.
Well, students generally retain us when they find employment to get work authorization. Sometimes they fall out of status. They want to get reinstated to their status. Then they need an attorney, obviously. But other than that, if they just follow up these quick steps, and there's good information about DMV's, every state's DMV. There's good information at schools what they should do about the driver's license and social security numbers. They just need to follow that. Make sure you do every step correctly, and make sure you don't fall out of status in the service system. That's the most important thing.
Biggest mistake students make that you would ask them to be aware of?
Biggest mistake? make sure you are transferring from one school to another correctly. That's the biggest mistake I see. And they don't let the school know, and they fell out of status, and to get that corrected is a really, it's not a big problem, but it takes time.
That takes time. Okay,
Yes.
well, always a pleasure to have you. And
Thank you so much
I hope
for
those
having me.
students were listening. That's a lot of stuff to have to juggle.
That's right.
We'll look to have you again on another day.
Thank you for having me.